So you're aware that we're going to really need to know how to design a robust multi-tier architecture inside of Amazon Web Services, but it is well worth it to discuss what exactly is a multi-tier architecture. A lot of us kind of take this for granted now because this approach has been with us for many decades now. So it is a tried and true approach to building IT solutions. And that is to separate things, functionality out into tiers. So a classic example of the multi-tier architecture is a 3-tiered architecture. But note, there can be many different tiers. So we like to just generically say multi-tier architecture now. But the classic 3-tier would have a data access tier, often database technology here, of course, a business logic tier, where we're going to be actually doing something with the data for the application, and then a presentation tier that is partially made up of what the end user is going to see. The different tiers are a wonderful design approach, and while you could put all of these different tiers into one single system, that is also something that we want to try and avoid. Because when you put all of the tiers on one single system, it can be harder to do things independently. So maybe we might want to scale just our data access tier, but we don't want to scale the business logic and the presentation tiers. But if they're all on one system, then we're kind of stuck. We really love the flexibility that the cloud gives us to not only design multi-tier architectures, but to be able to really separate them and decouple them. More on that in an upcoming episode, but we're able to really break them up onto different systems. We're going to discuss in great detail in this course the approaches to elasticity and what are called auto-scaling. But at this point, I just want you to realize that if we are to follow the recommended approach for cloud, and that's to engage in horizontal scaling, it's going to be so much easier for us if we separate those tiers into different systems. See, what I show you on screen here is vertical scaling, and that really isn't recommended for Amazon Web Services. This is where we have this single box, for example, and we realize, oh my gosh, we need to really scale this out. And we're going to be basically stuck scaling all 3 of our 3 tiers if they're all in that same box. And what we do with the vertical scaling approach is we just build a bigger box. That's not the AWS recommendation, though. I mean, there are certainly times where we would be stuck with this. But what we love to do in something like Amazon Web Services is a horizontal scaling. You have a small little cloud-based server, and then when you need it, you go ahead and automatically scale it out to multiple instances of itself. If we're taking advantage of the horizontal scaling approach inside of AWS, and we separate the tiers into different systems, now we'd be able to do our horizontal scaling and just for the tier that needs it. Such a great idea to not only distinguish your tiers, but to have them running separately from each other. Something else that really gets exciting when you think about it is for many of the functions of the tiers, we can rely on AWS to really self-manage for us. So our data access tier might be calling upon the relational database service of AWS. So they're handling almost all of our, maintenance and operations work there. Lambda is the serverless compute service, and it might be handling our business logic tier. So once again, AWS doing most of the lifting for us. And then maybe we're doing the presentation tier through a Linux EC2 instance that we are fully managing, of course. So notice how for the different tier applications inside of AWS, we could be calling upon self-managed services like Lambda, or ones that are going to give us more an opportunity to manage things like EC2. And these can all be combined for the same overall architecture, but they're just doing different functions for us at the different tiers. As a way to introduce EC2 to you, in fact, what am I saying? You already know about the EC2 service, but as a way to review EC2 for you, coming from perhaps the cloud practitioner level of knowledge, in the very next video, what I'll do is I'll show you how we could spin up a multi-tiered architecture on a single EC2 instance. But this is more of a way for us to review EC2 more than it is a way to teach the multi-tier architecture. Because remember, we would want to most likely not just use a single EC2 instance in order to provide all the tiers of our architecture. But I certainly hope you'll join me in the next lesson where we will take a look at the multi-tier architecture inside a single, remarkably powerful EC2 instance.